Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I hope you are all well and all in peace, inside and outside, and at peace also. I'm glad to see the same as every time. So wonderful. Before we start, we just hang on a second and see if there will be a few more people coming in. I assume so. So, yes. As you may have read, the topic of today sounds like a great topic. The title is of Good afternoon to Phnom Penh from Germany. It's so great that you come from all the four corners of the world. Wonderful. So, today's topic is peace in times of war. So, what can we do when times are rough? Right. One writes enlightenment, and that is the ultimate peace, of course. That is what we should all go for. I want to open this talk officially. I'm talking already, but I want to open it officially by quoting something from the Samyutta Nikaya. And of the books of the aggregates, the Khandavagga. And there it would be the number 43. Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it as with yourself as an island. In other translations, you would find be an island unto yourself, or something like that. It is called in English Atadipa Sutra. And the message that it has, I think, I later can maybe make a point how important that is for peace. But let me first read it out. At Savatthi, it was said, Bhikkhus, the Buddha said, dwell with yourselves as an island, with yourselves as a refuge, with no other refuge, with the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as a refuge, with no other refuge. When you dwell with yourselves as an island, with yourselves as a refuge, with no other refuge, with the Dhamma as an island, with the Dhamma as a refuge, with no other refuge, the basis itself should be investigated thus. From what are sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair born? How are they produced? But I want to leave it at that for the moment. Maybe we look into that later again, I have brought many different suttas again. And also, we wanted to meditate a little bit together. I hope it comes to this. Remind me if we're getting late. So be an island unto yourself, or be an island for yourself. I think this is a very, very helpful reminder, because if you look at it, an island is separated from other islands or from other lands, from the same body of water, from the same mass of water, which connects it also. So be yourself an island means you're isolated. Isolate yourself, that says. Isolate yourself, but be connected. The body of water between the islands may be difficult to cross, may be big, but important is that you have grounds to stand on. And of course, then later we understand that it's not the I that I perceive as being me, my mind, myself. That would be the island. That I want to say right from the beginning, that there is no misunderstanding about that. But our language is like that. We have to use pronouns and then it comes out like there is a self and I am an island. So this is of course not meant to be like that. Being an island is being secluded, being away, being somewhat isolated. And that in itself already brings some peace. Also, if you feel the connectedness, if you know there is this island that carries me, in lack of other words, and there are other islands, and we are connected by this huge body of water, which is filled with life and with an underground earth, mass of earth. And you know the connection, you feel the connection. Then being isolated like that, being an island for yourself, is truly, truly very, very beneficial. So be an island unto yourself, or be an island for yourselves. It's brilliant. That is Samyutta Nikaya. It was asked what sutta that is. The sutta is Samyutta Nikaya, Khandavagga. That is 22, and the sutta is 43, and the name is With Yourselves as an Island. With yourselves as an island. And this is also something that the Buddha said to Ananda before he was dying, as I remember correctly. So we have this Namarupa, this body-mind conglomeration, and the Dhamma as an island. And that is where we stand on. That is our basis. And that basis, with the Dhamma, by the Dhamma, can be made of whatever we think it should be. If we want our basis to be peace, then we have to make it peace. If we want our island to be a basis of metta or of karuna, so loving kindness or compassion or empathetic joy or whatever else, that we make it. It's us, it's upon us to make our island as we think it should be. It's our responsibility to do that. And this island that we are for ourselves is the only place in the entire universe that we really can do something about. There is no other place or no other time in this entire multiverse where we have the chance to do something about things. Now, at this moment, here, at our island, there, we do have the possibility to make our grounds as we like it. Of course, there are outside difficulties coming and interrupting our peace. There's another thing that I wanted to say, what the Buddha said, etang santang, etang panitang, yaditang, and so forth. So this is peaceful, this is sublime, and we talked about that. These are the meditative states. So you know where I'm heading at. You can already probably guess that when I say peace in times of war, or what can we do when we feel threatened, that I'm aiming at telling you that the peace comes from within, and that we are the ones who shall make that peace, because nobody else is going to make that for us. The world, samsara, is just not like that. That is quite unfortunate, and that's a very, very hard and rough truth. But if you want to have peace in your lives, then make it. Be the one who makes it. There is no other time and no other place where it can happen. Hi, Dan. I said so far, be an island for yourselves. And that is very important. And I repeat it because somebody's late, and I'm happy for that person to repeat what I said. It is important that we are an island for ourselves, that we make the Dhamma an island for ourselves, because that is the time and place where we can do anything, where we can create peace if we want peace. And So I brought more things actually to read. This was just one thing. And I already mentioned the major point I'm making, that we have to find the peace within ourselves. We won't find it outside anywhere. There might be moments, there might be some people who make us feel more peaceful, more comfortable. But think of it. Why are you not that person who gives that comfort to others? Why are you not that person who are an island and, for example, invite other people to come and relax and hear the Dhamma and have peace, a moment of peace with you? And then, of course, let them go again, because everybody shall be their own island. And I think it is important that we understand that it's a mindset. I haven't read that book. Charles Lee is reminded of a book called The Island by Ajahn Pasano and Amaro. I haven't read that book, so I can't talk about it, but this is probably read-worthy, so go ahead and later read it. Maybe it's a very good recommendation. So when we think of peace within ourselves, in times when we feel threatened, and that is in times when we feel threatened, like maybe there's a third world war looming, or maybe neighbors are invading, or the other day Charles Lee says that he often is threatened by just who he is, how he is, as I understand it. So all the more so, it's important for us to understand that we can be the ones where peace starts. We can be Peace Island. We can be Love Island, loving kindness, Metta Island, I mean, of course. We can be Compassion Island, Equanimity Island. So Buddha Ruchi asks a question. Let me just check what she asks. I think we also need to add, how do we respond to the evils, hurts, killings, pain makers of the world? Since there is no self, thus no separation, I think I'm free to act out of compassion and kindness. I wanted to go there, Buddha Ruchi. I'm getting there. I try not to have a feeling. I try to be at peace. I tell you, that's not easy, because of course I feel affected. I feel like very affected, but at the same time I try to be at peace and spread confidence and peace, because I don't know how to put that right so that I don't sound too esoteric. And it's not meant in an esoteric way in any form. But it, if you create peace within yourself, and many people do this, then there's a lot of peace in that world, in this world. So if a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and so forth is created, then there is a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain and a lot of grief in this world. And I think these things are all leaving an imprint in this world, in this multiverse, let's say. These things are leaving an imprint in time and space. And when the time comes, karma ripens, and things will occur as they have to. But we leave that imprint within ourselves, within our own mind, and within the world. So if we put an imprint of peace, if we give the message of confidence and strength and fearlessness, then I think that somewhat transports. And the more people there are that transport that message of peace and confidence and harmlessness, the more it remains in this world. And people, maybe from the insecure side, tending to have fears and so on, will be pulled over to the side of confidence and peace, because they feel the power of what is coming. Because peace is powerful, can be very, very powerful. It's a force that is not to underestimate. But also, threats are, and people who are threatening, are a very, very strong force. And it's easier to fall into fear than to remain with confidence and peace and metta and loving kindness and all these things, So sometimes we really have to remind ourselves, this little island here, in this time and in this space, here, from here only comes peace. From here only comes harmlessness. From this time and space only comes loving kindness, whatever is needed in that very moment. I think there are two viable ways to relate to aggressions. One is, of course, the very, very natural and normal reaction that if you are threatened, you react upon it. If somebody beats you, you beat back or yell back, you react. If the telephone rings, you answer it. If somebody invades your country, you fight back. That is one way. And I will not say anything bad about it. If somebody thinks they need to defend themselves and need to fight for themselves, then I'm not the one who blames them for that. And the Buddha was left it open. So for me as a nun, of course, there is no other way. I have to, if somebody invades my space, I have no other way than to flood them with loving kindness, with peace, and with harmlessness. And if somebody wants to kill me, I hope indeed that I can think of Majjhima Nikaya number 21 and act accordingly. I will tell you later what that was, but we have been speaking about that, I think, 2 weeks ago. For me as a nun, that would be the way I would wish I could act on. I don't know if the situation ever came, if I would react like that. So far, so good. But one never knows when it really, really becomes life-threatening. So there are these two possibilities. Either you react or you don't. And if you don't, you're invaded. Either in your personal space or in your country, or what do I know? That, and you have to choose at some point what to do when it comes to this. And if you cannot react like Majjhima Nikaya 21, as in the Simile of the saw, where it is said that even if bandits come and sever your limbs, cut off your limbs, if you are not having loving kindness, if you don't have compassion, if you don't have equanimity at that time, you are not carrying out my teaching. So this is one thing that we can go for, actually. But if there is anyone in this world who reacts otherwise, I would have compassion for that person too. And so I think that also, to come back to Buddha Ruchi's question, what do we do with people who kill, with people who threaten, who invade? What do you do? So I have put a little paper in that, just changing books, and I have put a little paper in there. Majjhima Nikaya 21. So, and you remember, it's not long ago that we spoke about it. Buddha explains how we should train. Our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall abide pervading that person with a mind imbued with loving kindness, And starting with him, we shall abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So, if we are in a position to react like that on a thread, on whatever thread to ourselves, to our lives, that would be, say, the utmost. That would be how the Buddha would wish us to react. But certainly there are moments we cannot. And I think there's really a difference between monastics, ordained people who should really, really try hard to live this, and people who are not ordained. I think there can be a difference in that also, how far you go into carrying out that teaching. And as I said, I'm not too sure that I would carry it out if somebody would cut off my limbs or so on, or threaten to kill me. But there are more hints on what to do in the Majjhima Nikaya. For example, let me start with another one that I just opened. In Majjhima Nikaya number 4, Fear and Dread, or Bhairava Sutta. Majjhima Nikaya number 4. The Buddha explained how he has been treating, going about and dealt with fear before he became enlightened, before he was a Buddha. So he looked for places to learn how to behave. And he went on to scary places, to charnel grounds and so forth. So he was searching for an object to learn. And he said, and while I dwelt there, a wild animal would come up to me, or a peacock would knock off a branch, or the wind would rustle the leaves. I thought, what now if this is the fear and dread coming? I thought, why do I dwell always expecting fear and dread? So, why do we expect always fear and dread? What if I subdue that fear and dread while keeping the same posture that I'm in when it comes upon me? While I walked, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither stood nor sat nor lay down till I had subdued that fear and dread. While I stood, the fear and dread came upon me. I neither walked nor sat down nor laid down till I had subdued the fear and dread. While I sat, the fear and dread came upon me. Neither walked I nor stood or laid I down till I had subdued the fear and dread. While I lay down, the fear and dread came upon me. Neither walked or stood nor sat down I until I had subdued that fear and dread. So first, he says, ask yourself, well, or we could, he says he asked himself, but we can ask ourselves, why do we always expect fear and dread? That's a habit. We learned it like that. It's difficult to unlearn because we don't want to be harmed. Yes, we fear to be harmed. But yet, it's a habit that we think like that. Because we take ourselves as I, me, mine. Of course, if there is a self, that self can be threatened. When there's a self, that self can be harmed. So if we, maybe sitting on our little island, ponder upon it and think, this is not mine. This am I not. This is not myself. Then you might understand there is no need to fear, really. There might be the habit of fear arising because we learned it like that. But we can also learn to subdue as the Buddha did. We can learn, we can train. When we walk, we don't shrug and look back or turn around. We breathe and continue with just what we are doing. When we stand, we stand. When we sit, we sit. When we walk, we walk. There is no whatsoever need to interrupt that. I was speaking earlier of reactiveness. We have the habit to react upon these things. Always reactive. And that causes that we think there is an I, it's me, it's threatening me, it's threatening myself. No, it's not. Yes, I know. It is, because there is self. And it's a training. It's just a training of understanding, a training of attitude, a training of your heart and mind to get over that. So this is one thing that we can work on. So train yourselves not to be reactive anymore. You know, when somebody threatens us, we think we are in the right to react. Maybe we're right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to react and tell the other, I'm right. Maybe we can just leave it at what it is. And when there's pain, we can just leave it with the pain. So then, we have, this I wanted to read first. Buddharuchi. I forgot to read that because he asked that question. Never mind. So I'm reading it now. So, Majjhima Nikaya 13, the greater discourse on the mass of suffering. So here, the Buddha is speaking about what causes this great mass of suffering. So, as this is, we are talking about the cause here, this should have come first before we start on how we can get over it. But anyway, so the sensual pleasures that we are having are one of the major sources of trouble, of suffering. Not only that, but there it starts with also this material form. If it feels threatened, also our feelings are mentioned in this sutta. But so this is one of the suttas where the Buddha reminds us to observe what is the gratification, what is the danger, and what is the escape in our 5 khandhas. And then he asked, what is the gratification in the case of sensual pleasures? Because it's pleasant. Because it's pleasant, we're greedy for it. Very simple. He explains it, of course, a little bit in more detail, but it comes down to that. All these sensual pleasures are a gratification because they are pleasurable, because we want them, because we're greedy. Then there's the danger. Also, in those sensual pleasures, because we get hooked up, we got stuck with it. And more so, and then he explains, if we want to have pleasures, we need money. And if we need money, we need to work hard. And then when we work hard and have money, then somebody comes and takes that money away, either taxes or robbers or whoever. So we always are afraid that something happens to our wealth and to what we worked so hard for. So we can never really be at peace. That is the danger. And then more so, these sensual pleasures are the basis, the cause. Kings quarrel with kings, noble ones with nobles, Brahmins with Brahmins, householders with householders, mothers quarrel with sons, sons with mother, father and son, son with father, brother quarrels with brother, brother with sister, sister with brother, friend with friend. And here in their quarrels, brawls and disputes, they attack each other with fists, cloth, sticks, or knives, whereby they incur death or deadly suffering. Now, this too is the danger in the case of sensual pleasures, a mass of suffering here and now. The cause being simply sensual pleasures. Again, with sensual pleasures as a cause, men take swords and shields and buckle on bows and quivers, and they charge into battle massed in double arrow, with arrows and spears flying and swords flashing. And there They are wounded by arrows and spears, and their heads are cut off by swords, whereby they incur death or deadly suffering. Now, this too is a danger in the case of sensual pleasures, a mass of suffering here and now, the cause being simply sensual pleasures. And it continues, like with more inflictions. And even if somebody invades your private space, your apartment, your country, invades whatever, it's because of sensual pleasures. You know, if somebody wants to feel big or has some issues, they might just do that because of greed, hatred, and delusion. Especially greed for the wanting of gratification. And I think if you suffer in the case of an invasion of a country, for example, if you suffer, they have their sensual pleasures. So we should even more so learn not to fulfill that pleasure, but to remain at peace. So then, Majjhima Nikaya 21, we had already the Similes of a Soul, Kakachupama Sutta. Then I also have Majjhima Nikaya 28. There also we find something on what we can do. And this, in the example of the earth element, that is the Atadipa Sutra, the greater discourse on the simile of the elephant's footprint. I'm starting with the earth element. With what, friends, is the earth element? The earth element may be either internal or external. What is the internal earth element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified and clung to. That is head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, contents of the stomach, feces, and whatever else internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified and clung to. This is called the internal earth element. Now, both the internal earth element and the external earth element are simply earth element. And that should be seen as it actually is, with proper wisdom. Thus, this is not mine. This am I not. This is not myself. When one sees it thus, as it actually is, with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the earth element and makes the mind dispassionate toward the earth element. Now, there comes a time when the earth element is disturbed, and then the external earth element vanishes. When even this external earth element, great, as it is seen to be impermanent, subject to destruction, disappearance, and change, what of this body then, which is clung to by craving and lust but a while? There can be no considering that as I, or mine, or I am. So then, if others abuse, revile, scold, and harass a bhikkhu who has seen this element as it actually is, he understands thus this painful feeling born of ear contact, because he was scolded, so he heard, has arisen within me. That is dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? Dependent on contact. Then he sees that contact is impermanent, that feeling is impermanent, that perception is impermanent, that formations are impermanent, that consciousness is impermanent, and his mind, having made an element its object support, and his mind, having made an element its objective support, enters into that new objective supports and acquires confidence, steadiness, and resolution. Now, if others attack that bhikkhus in ways that are unwished for, undesired, disagreeable, by contact with fists, cloths, or sticks or knives, he understands thus. This body is of such a nature that contact with fists, cloths, sticks, and knives assail it. But this has been said by the Blessed One in his advice in the simile of the saw. Bhikkhus, even if bandits were to sever you savagely limb by limb with a two-handed saw, he who gave rise to a mind of hate toward them would not be carrying out my teaching. So tireless energy shall be aroused within me, and unremitting mindfulness established. My body shall be tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified. And now let contact with fists, cloths, sticks, and knives assail this body, for this teaching of the Buddhas is being practiced by me. This is a great thing to do, if you can. This is, as Sud says, a wonderful teaching. This is greater, most probably, than we are. But we can try. We can intend to. We can try that we go in this direction. And we can start by remembering, I am an island. And I let those in to my personal space who want my peace, who want my love, and not those who harm me. And when we are ready for, we can let everybody on our island, of course, but for the time being, while we train to do it as stated in this sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 28, the simile of the elephant's footprint. Yeah. Until then, we train. So it continues, and I was struck a little bit because I just now saw that it's 5 minutes left. So nobody reminded me of meditation. Well, so same sutta. When that bhikkhu thus recollects the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, if equanimity supported by wholesome does not become established in him, then he arouses a sense of urgency. Thus, it is a loss for me. It is no gain for me. It is bad for me. It is no good for me that when I thus recollect the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, equanimity supported by the wholesome does not become established in me. Just as when a daughter-in-law sees her father-in-law, she arouses a sense of urgency. So too, when that bhikkhu thus recollects the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, if equanimity, supported by the wholesome, does not become established in him, then he arouses a sense of urgency. And I think this is what most people here in Europe presently are feeling, a very aroused sense of urgency, because yeah, times are threatening. And I also want to arouse that sense of urgency within you. Seek peace whenever it is possible. Do not be reactive when you know your reaction might most probably be unwholesome. Wait, breathe until you know, now I can react wholesome. Yeah. That is mainly what I wanted to share with you today. Well, I thought it would have been a little bit fast and thought we would meditate, but let me share. I think we had it already. I already mentioned it. Dhammapada verse number 129. All beings fear violence. All fear death. Using this as a criterion, one should not kill or cause death. So, I think time is up. Time to say goodbye for today. We see each other next week, and maybe I look for lesser texts and we do indeed some meditation. I'm sorry, but this was really important to needed to be said. So be well, everyone. May peace be with you. Oh, Dan, you asked for the German talks. I started to upload some. I started a channel myself, but there are only 3 or 4 because uploading is such a hassle and takes so long time. So yes, see you next week. Also, if you wish to listen to live German talks, I'm giving German Vorträge in Deutsch every Thursday evening, German time, 7:30. So you can check our website for more information and send an email. Then I send you a link. It's not open as it, but I'm sending the link and the connection wholeheartedly and happily. So bye bye.